stronger, faster.
Hiya there, I'm AJ Pickett, and I'm the Mighty Gluestick. This is the channel where we talk about monster lore, but today I've got some friends with me, and we're going to talk about if you were like homebrewing your own campaign world setting, you know, what one thing would you incorporate or take away from it to make it completely different to a Dungeons and Dragons experience that you might have seen before. And I've got some friends to help me. So since Wally's not ready for this question, and I can totally understand, I'm going to ask Trevor from No Fun. No Fun, what would be your answer to this question?
I've got two things on the top of my head. One of them is you're in a world where maps don't exist. Maps simply do not exist. And anytime anybody ever gets the inclination to write anything down that would resemble a way to navigate the world, the thought automatically leaves your head. And that is a really great way to world build, because how would the world be shaped if you couldn't map things out, right? You know, like the idea of a map doesn't exist, like the word map does not exist. Basically, if you try to explain to anybody, hey, like, how do I get to this location? The best they can do is go that way, and that's it. So I think that would be I've actually played in that world. My buddy has ran that world, and it's a unique world building tool. And another one is a world where people cannot build things. At one point, people built things like buildings and tools and whatever else, but then some god waved their hand and said, hey, you can't build anymore. What would a world be like if you couldn't build things anymore? You would have to utilize the resources you have, and over the course of time, things would be lost. So there'd be this big old thing of having to go out into the world to scavenge whatever supplies are left. And I think that diminishing resource there could prove a very interesting way to shape an adventure.
What about you, Ryan? What have you got for us?
Oh boy! So if I'm gonna homebrew and I want to add something to it that makes it really unique to it, I want to run it where, mechanically speaking, sort of the idea that we have is these epic lineages of heroes, where you sort of pass down the title of hero as you go, and our leveling up, so to speak. To really do that, we're going to mess with the level up mechanic, where you might gain 2 or 3 levels at a time, but your character never levels up in their lifetime. And so your character will die and will have parts of that warrior spirit or that mage or whatever that is, that spirit that finds a new home. And we're sort of weaving this tapestry, this Ada, this story of this epic hero lineage that goes through, and there's small changes, adjustments to class and things like that, where it's through sort of a death and reincarnation that the spirit is allowed to grow, and we're not trying to solve any necessarily one problem, but that those individual heroic spirits are trying to tell their full story so they can finally be at rest. That's what I'd like to do.
Answers. Those are some really good answers.
I can't remember the name of the game. Was it called Hourglass? It was something along those lines, where it was a group of heroes.
Oh, cool. No, I haven't heard of it. That's awesome.
I can't. I'll look it up after this, but but yeah, it's definitely a game where you get abilities, and then you have kids, and then
that's neat. There's a roughly similar idea in Fate of the Norns. Your character can die and sort of go on to Valhalla and stuff like that. But no, Hourglass I'll have to check out too. I've never heard of it. That's cool.
Well, I'm going to go next because I don't think Wally's ready for this question yet. So I'm going to just do mine.
Wheels are turning.
and he can just make something up when he's ready. So, Fred, how would you go about making your campaign different to somebody else's if you're homebrewing your own world? I'm glad you said that, AJ. This is probably how I would go about homebrewing my own world. I don't like humans. So I would probably go with, let's get rid of all the humans. I'm so sick and tired.
Fred
of
Wheeler,
fantasy worlds.
2021. I do not like humans.
I don't like humans.
Mate, I'm a human. I don't like humans. I don't want a fantasy world with any humans. Instead, I want humanoids that are fuzzy little animals and monsters, races, and just like there's no humans. Heck, let's get rid of the half elf, the half orc. Let's just go full elf, full orc. I don't just not go halfway. So for me, if I was going to make a campaign world really different, that's the thing that would stick out for me, is just let's just get rid of the humans. They're always dominating everything as it is. So that's the one I would definitely go for. And if I was not allowed to have that and somebody thought I was being really, really horrible, then I would go with the golden age of magic in the world. You know, instead of it being broken down and finding everything that somebody else did hundreds or thousands of years ago, actually right now is where everything is definitely happening and kicking along. And if you want to see how the ancients do it, well, it's right now, not in the past. That's how I'd probably go about doing it.
Ooh, that's good. That's fantastic. The second one. No, they both actually sound pretty fun. I like the first one. Just reminds me of like running a Redwall campaign. Essentially, that sounds really cool. So I guess I would be interested. Like, how does that skin differently? That it's not just, oh well, these are just greedy humans with pointy ears, or these are just greedy humans that are like. How does that build into your world building? That these races really are or ancestries, these lineages, whatever, these non-human societies truly are non-human societies. That would be, for me as a player, I would love sitting through and finding all like the anthropology of that fantasy world.
Yeah, I think it would be very interesting too. I also think that players would have not a foggiest clue how to handle it, and that would be part of the fun, is watching them trying to work their way through that. And they will probably just plaster human behavior over the top of a body that didn't look human most of the time. But for me, it'd still be something that would make it stand out. And that's why I like that one the most. Yeah.
Interesting.
But Wally, it's time for you to answer this nerve-wracking question related to the universe and the cosmos and the ultimate question. It's the ultimate nerdy question, Wally. What is your answer?
Okay. I do want to preface this that I had a lot of time to think of my answer, at least 7 minutes. And I'm going to go with total and complete chaos. So if I were to be able to homebrew my own world, I would no longer have to answer, well, that puzzle doesn't make sense, or why does that exist here? Because everything just exists. This is my Twilight Zone type of a world. There's going to be a adult green dragon in a 30-foot by 30-foot room, just like in the old days of AD&D. How did it get here? I don't know, but it's here. Why does this puzzle exist? Who set it up? What have you? I don't know. It's just here. And it's going to be all based out of my homebrew city that is like rippling through all of these different multiverses and dimensions and things. One day there is a tavern that's on the corner. The next day it is like a farm, and it's just going to change when I need it to change. And it's just going to be absolute 100% chaos that you can't depend on. How'd I do?
I want to run that world now.
I like that.
Because you get that age-old question from players of, this doesn't make any sense. Screw you, magic. Like,
yes, my world,
like,
everything does not have to make sense, but it does make sense.
Exactly.
And that's what doesn't make sense about it.
There's That's such a cool, the ever changing city, the city of puzzles, the city of door. Like, I feel like that's such a fun thing. That's a really, just running a campaign or being in a campaign just in that city sounds fantastic.
By the way, it's not trademarked, so it's already stolen. So,
do you know what I find really amusing? And your response is exactly the sort of thing that comes up, right? When you talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we obviously go straight to the mega dungeon because it's the most common thing that came out in Dungeons and Dragons when it first was released, is the mega dungeon, the multi-levels. And you were supposed to, as a dungeon master, you were supposed to build this vast dungeon with multiple levels. That was part of your rite of passage. But it doesn't make sense. And I'm like,
No.
oh, that has answered everything. Well, it doesn't have to make sense. This is the world that it is. In fact, does it make sense that giant chunks of land are floating in the air? Magic. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't have to make sense. Doesn't make sense that there's a monster called a roving mauler that is just basically a wheel of legs and a lion face that breathes fire. How does that thing actually reproduce? How does it lie down? Who knows? Magic. So the chaos idea, I love that. I think that fills in the gaps quite nicely. Maybe not for all players, but certainly for me.
Awesome. It only took me 3 beers to get to that.
And that's the message, everybody. If you need to come up with ideas, you need to drink more alcohol. No.
No.
And
that just got demonetized. And
demonetized. Okay. Okay, so I better
Not safe for kids.
Not safe for kids. Yes, this content is not safe for kids.
Or
Anyway,
adults.
or anybody. Okay. Anyway, all right, let's finish it up.
Cogent people.
So let us know down in the comments how you would homebrew your own campaign world so it was distinctive to everything else you've ever come across. Deeply nerdy, deeply nerdy. That's the only word that's coming through my mind. I can't think of anything else. Deeply nerdy. The only words that I can remember from AJ Pickett's videos. And I've watched so many of them. AJ, I don't remember. Okay, all right.